Hey guys, welcome back to my channel for an all new episode recap of today's Days of Our Lives, June 23rd, 2025. So we start off with Kat and Shane, and Kat was in the square at first talking to her siblings about what to pick up for dinner, and she feels as if somebody's watching her, following her. So at some point, she's in the park off the square, right? And Shane approaches her. So remember, we saw them interact shortly at John's memorial, right? And she was addressing him as sir. So now we find out that Kat used to be an agent for Shane with the ISA. She was some kind of analyst. So she doesn't want part of that life no more because she sees the repercussions that happen. I mean, that caused the accident that had her, have to go through cosmetic surgery and rehabilitation. She lost her father. Her mom went through a lot, being kidnapped, and she almost lost her life, dealing with Clyde, right? Because that's what she was there for with the ISA. So she doesn't want no more parts of it, and she sees what it did to John. So Shane is saying that's pretty personal, because John was more than an agent, he was a friend. So she didn't mean it that way. She just saying that, imagine if he chose a different life, he would be around for Marlena and his loved ones. So he said, it's just what it is. That's life, and he died going out as a hero. So anyways, he mentioned about Kat coming in to actually investigate what's going on with the Demares now that their company is now under Titan leadership. He's just wondering why and how EJ got the money to really invest into the hospital. Like, he's not working, not like he has the company to back him up. So he wants to know, like, how did EJ get the money? Seeing that they're a criminal family and all of that, he wants to further investigate what's going on. So at some point she didn't want to go do it, but she did, say, okay, I'll see what I can do, investigate EJ further, right? So Chad is at the restaurant with Gabby, which is really weird, consider what their relationship used to be like, their whole history. So turns out that Gabby wanted to talk to him more about business. She wants him to come back and take his company, take his family company from Titan leadership, because she feels as if the brothers are just running the company down, and she wants better management. She liked the management before. And Chad is saying, hey, why don't you just take your company and run? And she said, like, if it was that simple, I wouldn't be here, right? I signed this contract with them, and I can't really leave with can't leave with my company, and that's what it is. But I'm hoping that if you can take control over the company, then it could be better for all of us involved. So he said that I've been there, done that. I don't want to go down that road. And she's saying maybe you can clean it up. Your father would be proud. And he said Stefano would not want that. Stefano used the company as a front to do his criminal dealings, and I just don't want that. I just don't want that. And Gabby's saying, maybe you can turn it around for your children. Make it be their legacy. Chad doesn't want to do that. He's comfortable over the spectator, right? So anyways, it turns over to them talking about how the auction dates went, and she said hers was really boring with Alex at the restaurant, and he tells her about him jumping out of a plane with Kat, and she's saying, it seems as if you like Kat a lot more. It's so crazy that you guys started off not really, you really not liking her for what she did to you, posing as Abigail. And he said, I got to know her a bit more, and I understand why she did what she did. But Jennifer is not fond of our relationship or us talking with each other. She feels as if Kat really hurt him, the kids, the family. And, she's not trusting of her. So Gabby understands all of that. And, she's just hoping that things will turn around. Right? So going on to EJ and Tony. So first of all, Rita was in there because EJ asked her to recover the membership for him, and she's saying hopefully I'm not going to be involved in this or incriminated in any way. So he said, don't worry about it, it's just insurance. So Tony walks in, and Tony's saying to him, like, I hope it's nothing, deep trouble you're in. You can always tell me what's going on. So EJ says, look, it's not me, it's just my son, right? So Tony's wondering, like, what's going on with Johnny. So EJ says that Johnny is probably the one that shot him. So Tony said not because he hold the gun means that he was the one behind it. So he said, there's more reasons behind it, like, he's upset at me because of what I did to his mother. And he said, yes, I can understand that he's upset and all, but, like, that still doesn't justify him wanting to take you out. So he's saying that, because of me, I'm the reason why they can't adopt this baby, that they want to start a family together. And I want to protect him as best as possible. I know that if he's found out for this, he can go to jail for a long, long time, and I really don't want it to happen to him. I really want to work on repairing my relationship with him. So Tony said, your secret is safe with me. At the Horton house, Jennifer, Jack, they're going back to Boston, but they're having a last goodbye thing, a family game night with JJ and Thomas, right? So they're just playing a game, and they're talking amongst each other. And Thomas is sad to see his grandparents go, and they said that they made a promise that they'll be coming back often. So they asked, he asked, like, as kids, as inquisitive as they are, he's asking, like, why are you guys gonna come back often? Like, did somebody get sick? What's going on? So they said that they're there to support Julie in any type of way. And given that it was really a sad occasion that they came back for, with John's memorial, his funeral going on, they just want to show their faces a lot more, just being more supportive for the family. So he's happy about that, right? So Charlotte and Julie were supposed to come around as well. They have a little girls spa date or whatever. And at some point, Thomas is kicking everybody's butt, including his uncle JJ, and he mentions that Jennifer asks him, hey, you don't have to stay with us and play no games with us. Like, you probably have something else to do. So JJ said, like, he has nothing going on, and Thomas is gonna be that little inquisitive kid and say, oh, he doesn't really have anything to do. Gabby dumped him. So Jennifer is surprised because she didn't know of him and Gabby dating again, and she's like, are you serious? So at this point, Jack took Thomas out to go get some snacks so that Jennifer and JJ can talk, right? Meanwhile, the brothers are reunited again. EJ and Tony go over to the restaurant where Chad was, and Gabby was there. And there's no love lost between Gabby and EJ, but Tony greeted Gabby, and Gabby doesn't have a problem with Tony. So he was saying, hey, you can have dinner with us. So she said, no thanks, I lost my appetite, because again, she doesn't want to be around EJ likewise. So anyways, Tony said, did I miss anything? So she said, it's best you don't know what's going on. So he asked Gabby about Stefan, if she heard from him. So she said, no, not until the last time I heard from him was when he left Salem and sent the divorce papers. That was the last time. So he's doesn't hear from him in a long while. I guess we're gonna see the storyline play out at some point, how Vivian was the one who got Stefan out of Salem. But anyways, Gabby leaves, and they get to talking, catching up. And Tony said, look, I heard about Titan taking over the mirror, and I know Stefano would be very displeased about that, right? So anyways, he said that we need to team up and get the family back together. EJ knows that Kristen was the reason why it happened in the first place, and he was just talking to Chad about coming together as a family. But Tony said, somebody needs to take control of the company, and EJ said, look, my interest is elsewhere. Like, Stefano was grooming to take over the company, but I just don't want that. Like, it costs me a lot, and I'm just focused on taking over this hospital and repair my relationship with my son. And Chad is saying, like, I'm good over the Spectator. I really don't want to be around the company no more. So Chad leaves, because he has to be for his kids. Jack and Jennifer are leaving, and EJ at some point he gets a text message, and then he said he has to leave as well. So Tony talks to Ada on the phone and said, look, they don't want to be a part of the company, so it looks like it's up to me. So I'm here for this, right? Because Stefano would be displeased, the proud man that he is, he would be very perturbed that his company is under the management of his nemesis, right? So anyways, back to Jennifer and JJ, right? So again, can I tell you how displeased or annoyed I get with the Horton, Sarah, Maggie? Julie and now Jennifer, because Jennifer is saying, like, after all she's done to you in the past, all she's done to Julie, she's done to your cousins Eli and Will and all of that, you're gonna mix up with her again. So he's saying, like, I knew you were gonna react this way, that's why I didn't tell you. So she said, you knew I was right, that you couldn't tell me because I was right about it and all of that. So Jack is coming in and saying, look, like, that I think that's enough, like, the heart wants what the heart wants. So JJ said, look, you don't need to worry about it no more. It's not going to be a thing no more. Nobody wants to be around somebody who is being accused of murder, right? So I'm saying, Jennifer, where does Jennifer gets off, right? Because she's even saying that, JJ is so displeased at Chad and Kat talking again, yet still he's there fraternizing with Gabby. At the same time, JJ has no right to really question what Chad's doing either. But at the same time, like, where does Jennifer get off to just so judgmental, right? Like, she hasn't done anything in her past. Like, come on, like, you did so much things back in the past. Like, if I could just easily remember, like, you were a drug addict yourself, you caused a lot of things to happen, right? So, like, listen, like, I really can't stand these people and their self-righteous way. So JJ ended up seeing Gabby the square, and he just wanted to apologize to her for accusing her of being behind EJ's shooting. And she said, it just feels bad, like, you didn't believe in me, you didn't have faith in me, even though I was insisting I was innocent all this time. So how come you started believing me? So he said that, Jada said that Rafe said that the memory chip was around, and I don't think that Rafe would tell Jada about the memory chip to incriminate you. So, I'm just really sorry that this happened, right? So she said, good luck on your case, and I hope you find out who's behind it, right? So she leaves JJ, and I'm all for, I'm not really a big Gabby fan, but I agree with her on this. Like, JJ, even though he was doing his job, like, at the end of the day, like, had he been a lot more thorough, he would have noticed that Gabby was not behind it, right? So Chad sees Kat in the square, and he asks her about the graduation, how it went. So she said that, it went really well, and he tells her to tell Aaron congratulations. So he said that, are we on for the dinner date? And she said, yeah, we're on. So while they're talking, JJ is somewhere in the bushes lurking around and overhearing their conversation. Because remember, he did also, in the episode, he also talked to Jack about Kat and Chad coming close together, and how Jennifer is suspicious of them and doesn't want them to be a thing. And, JJ's all for that, and JJ said that he will also be keeping a close eye on Kat, right? At the end of the day, like, these two are grown people. Like, Chad is a grown man, he can handle himself. You guys need to stop coming into his personal life and leave this woman alone. Like, at the end of the day, who are you guys to cast any stone at nobody else? Like, leave the people alone, let them figure out themselves. Chad is a big boy, he can handle himself, right? He knows what he's doing, getting involved with Kat, right? So that was it for today's episode, guys. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe to my channel. I will see you guys tomorrow.